Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a grand Seiko in for review for you guys, and boy is it grand. This is actually a limited edition. Well, before we get into that, a little bit about the brand. Seiko was founded back in 1881. They're Japanese of origin, and now have factories throughout Asia. They cover all market segments from entry level to high end, and this is an example of that high end division, Grand Seiko, which was founded back in 1960. Now, in terms of this type of watch, I consider it an everyday dress watch. Some key common characteristics and design language when you're looking for something you can wear and kind of dress up every day that also dresses down from time to time, is something that's clean, classic, with a minimalist design, and is also sensibly sized. This is your Grand Seiko SBGW275. It's a 140-piece US limited edition out of the Elegance collection, and the textures and colorways are inspired by the Genbi Valley, one of Iwate Prefecture's most stunning natural scenes, a lush ravine featuring a multi-color foliage in the fall, snowscapes in the winter, cherry blossoms in the spring, and azaleas in the summer. The picturesque greenery in particular is what inspired the 3 different green shades for this limited run. This is the one that I kind of like the most, and it's actually the one that I was searching for that sold out really fast, and luckily Belmont had one for me to check out. I'm not regularly dropping money on full-on luxury timepieces, so unfortunately this one is just a loaner in, but big shout out to Belmont Watches out in San Diego for being able to provide this for me temporarily, so I can share it with you guys and get a good idea of kind of what this piece is all about, because it's definitely one that I've drooled over from afar, so it's very nice to see this thing up close. But they do have it available, so if you are interested to buy, definitely check out the link in the description. It's currently going for $1,150 direct from Belmont. Again, this is a limited edition, US only, that was only limited to 140 pieces, and it is sold out, so of course there is going to be a level of markup there. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Another big shout out to Belmont Watches, and as you can see, completely new with the tags and everything, guys. Let's take a look. Ooh, let's just breathe this in once the camera decides to focus on it. Whoa, check it out. What a shade, guys. Goodness. This teal dial is just something else. It is just beautiful, and it plays really well off of this kind of midnight black, midnight blue crocodile strap here with navy stitching. And it just has all the hallmarks of a classic Grand Seiko, and also a modern Grand Seiko in that, of course, they're doing amazing things with the dial colors and textures. You can see this is just chock full of visual interest and just extremely well done fit and finish. Of course, the famous Zaratsu polish here all over, and then look at that manual wind movement. It actually does have the sticker on the case back still, so it might not be coming in quite as clear, but I'll try to bring it in closely there. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, in terms of the dimensions on this, you guys have seen this particular case before, but of course now they're doing some really wild things with different editions, and even some more toned down things for different editions, whether they be in the UK, US exclusives, and then, various, limited runs in and out of that, even at the international level. So when these were retail before they were sold out, they were $4,900. So yeah, these have risen in value because they are limited. So as an owner, if you're somebody that, likes to be able to maybe flip your watch, something like that, after you spend some time with it and, not be underneath it, this is definitely a way to go, which wasn't very common when it came to Grand Seiko years back, but now they're definitely holding their value really, really well, which is great. I'm somebody who just keeps watches, so you know, it's not a huge selling point for me, but it is nice, I guess, you know, in terms of peace of mind. So the diameter on this is 37.1 millimeters across, 12 millimeters thick, including that beautiful crystal there, 44.2 millimeters lug to lug, and of course those measurements are all off of my own calipers, so they are going to vary a little bit from whatever's posted on Grand Seiko's websites. And then, of course, all in stainless steel, fully polished. The sapphire is that nice box dome with inner AR coating, really finely executed in terms of the shape of that sapphire, the undercut on it, so there's minimal distortion at harsh angle. As you can see, still quite legible. So really beautifully crafted and executed, and this is all in-house to Seiko, of course. Now, this movement, oh, actually push-pull crown, so not in screw down, but it is signed. And then we get to this movement again. The accuracy on it is actually +5 or -3 seconds per day. It has a 72-hour power reserve and is anti-magnetic up to 4800 AM. So not too shabby from that perspective. And that nice kind of, instead of it being screw down, it's a screw in case back. And it's really, really lovely, guys. I will say that it is smaller. I know in pictures you look at these and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like you don't really have a way to, I think, range the scale and the proportions as well when you're not looking at it in 3 dimensions. I will say this is definitely a smaller timepiece, but it should be. It's a very simple design. It's time only, and it is, yeah, I mean, it's kind of meant to be that way. And with considering how many Grand Seikos are actually kind of large at 40 millimeters or above, it's nice to see these kind of sweet spots right here at 37, and I think they play really well. And honestly, I'm more of a kind of a 38 kind of guy, but I recently got a 37 millimeter King Seiko, which actually I think wears very, very similar to this piece, of course, but it does have a, you know, comes with a bracelet. Here there is a bracelet that will fit this model, but it costs about an extra $1,500 and it'll pair to this exact same case, but it's not a factory option, no, but it would be really, really gorgeous if we did pair that. So maybe that'll be something in, you know, future Grand Seiko mod territory, would be to kind of get one of these beautiful dials and have it pair with a really lovely factory bracelet. Let's get into the, of course you can see it has applied indices, polished and faceted, that finely textured teal dial, which just grabs light and does magical things with it. Dolphin style hands that are polished, and one thing that you might not notice from pictures, you know, is that it actually has, everything's domed. So you can see there's a slight dome on the hands there, so there's a little bit of curvature there, and then of course the dial itself does have a slight little radius to it there. So really nice, and ties in, of course, to that very clean classic look. But then you know, you take something that could be very monochromatic and very classic and timeless, and then you apply new color palettes, new textures, and it just adds another dimension and another layer in terms of desirability and just the kind of unique pop of the piece. Now the lugs on here are 19 millimeter, which isn't great, but you know what, in this day and age you can actually find some really great straps at 19 millimeters. And if you are going to be looking for some, chances are you're spending this much on a watch, you probably have no problem getting a more custom type of strap, which is going to be more expensive but easily you know, done in terms of dialing in to an exact spec of 19 millimeters. But there's even more kind of readily available options at 19 mil these days, but you know, it's not too shabby in terms of options. And then this is water resistant to 3 bar or 30 meters, so you know, just a little splash here and there, you should be good to go. And then, you know, as long as you have your crown pushed in, then you should be good to go. Honestly, if there's a level of static water around your watch, you drop it or something like that and it's submerged, it'll be fine, as long as you're not thrashing around with you wearing it, swimming or something like that, or trying to dive with it, putting more pressure underneath the water onto that case and all of the trappings in terms of the seals and everything that do help with the water resistance. Wow, this thing is just, I love this angle, I love this angle. There's a lot to like and even more to love. So this thing is great. I'm not gonna put it on just because this is a brand new strap, and I don't want to, you know, whoever owns this and buys this should be able to break it in. But what I will do is lay it across the wrist here really quick. So I'll take off that, and you can see here, really quite handsome on, even on my larger 7.5 inch wrist there. Really still gorgeous and plenty of wrist presence from that perspective, man. Gosh, I want one of these bad. Maybe not this one. This one might be too valuable, you know, with that limited dial and nature, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky and come into some extra funds here in the average household. But it's living in Southern California. My money goes elsewhere and not into luxury timepieces, especially with all the kids. So, man, this thing is gorgeous. Oh, gosh, it plays with the light. But as you can see there, the way that the lugs drape is really nice, and then you also do have drilled lugs, so you can swap things out pretty easily, less things to worry about in terms of scratching, which is also helpful. And, you know, you can see the contours that are on this case. And then, of course, the level of high polish, so it's reflecting off your skin. It helps it appear visually a little bit smaller, and it is on the smaller side. So even though it does have kind of a larger all dial kind of layout, this thing is just the business, guys. This is a handsome piece. But let's go ahead, get some low light transition going because there's no loom. Okay, guys, this is such a gorgeous dial. I had to like prop it up to get a little bit closer in so we could get more of this dial in frame. My goodness. And of course, there's no loom, so we're gonna go into some low light transition here, because you're not always gonna be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're gonna be coming in and out of a building, ooh, walking underneath the shade of a tree. Wow, what a gorgeous dial. Look at just how fine. Oh my, wow. The texturing, the just different array of shades of blue, green, silvery tones that are just hidden within this dial blow me away. So yeah, no loom. Okay, but you know what? That's what divers are for. An everyday dress watch doesn't necessarily need loom. You can see that beautifully smooth sweeping seconds hand. And again, guys, I did, you know, this is not the standard low light transition that I normally shoot, because I did want to get it a little bit closer. So pardon me if it's not to your regular level. I'm trying some new things just because I did want to make sure that we could get, oh my gosh, just a very, let's even get some high contrast here, just to completely try to wash everything out. See some imperfections. Nope, just beautifully deep, rich, lustrous polishing there, playing with the light, and then just, oh, sorry, hitting things. Really gorgeous textures being illuminated. Look at that. Isn't that cool, right? Like you're getting almost like, oh man, you're getting so much play there in kind of unexpected ways, in terms of the way that the light and the pattern hold the light and bounce it back. And then of course you're going to get a slight dome on the dial. So it's just doing so many things, and then you don't even think about the fact that, yeah, there's also this gorgeous box dome sapphire there. So really, really gorgeous, guys. This is just a real work of art from that perspective. But let's get the good lighting on it, get real up close and personal, and talk about some closing thoughts. All right, guys. So on the wrist, wears really nicely, definitely on the smaller side, but compact, with of course plenty of wrist presence. So it's not gonna, it's not something you're gonna forget about in a bad way. In terms of model variants, guys, there's a ton of other great models, both standard and limited releases on kind of both ends there, with dials ranging in different colorways, textures, and finishing. But in terms of this case, you're going to see it in other places, and in terms of beautiful crocodile strap, you'll see it in other places. Different colors, of course, different colorways, things playing with each other in different ways. And there also is a bracelet that has been mated to this same case in the past, which you can get kind of you know, within the aftermarket as well, but it again is going to cost you about $1,500. So you start doing that, you know, it all definitely adds up. But this thing is just so gorgeous. I'm really glad I was able to kind of get a close look at it and share a close look at it with you guys, because I don't think there has been too much coverage of this one, because it just sold out that fast. Now, in terms of comparable models, Grand Seiko really stands out in terms of desirable dress watches retailing under $5,000. I mean, they kind of own that space. And of course, these are not just, you know, these kind of dress watches that are fragile and, you know, very specific. They do have this great kind of everyday livability about them, just because of how robustly that they're built as well. They're far from dainty, even in these smaller scales. So, you know, with this level of in-house vertical integration, it's tough to find a comparable, honestly. I'd say internally, their recent King Seiko revival might be able to scratch the itch for some at well under $2,000. So for a good amount cheaper, you can get it on, you know, a bracelet, very similar specs in terms of thickness and diameter. Everything being in-house and all that, of course, but it's going to be a lower beat on the movement. Here you're seeing a you know, typical 4 hertz sweep, which is going to be 8 ticks per second, versus on the King Seiko, it's at least on the non-limited King Seiko with that has the 6R movement. Which nice part about that is it has an extended power reserve, close to the power reserve on this, except it's also you know, automatic, so less to worry about from that perspective. But yeah, it's going to be very similar in terms of the scale, honestly, and I'm gonna bring this watch into frame when I do my next King Seiko video with that. But yeah, slightly slower beat count, so you do save some money there, but you also lose a little bit of, you know, kind of that gorgeous clean smoothness that you get from a more standard rate. But guys, bottom line on here, this is just yet another example of an enthusiast loved brand continually releasing products targeted more for the niche enthusiast versus the broad general consumer. Like, this isn't a watch that they're stocking that, you know, regular just onlookers will be like, hey, what's this interesting Grand Seiko place? Let me check it out. Oh, I'm gonna buy that. Like, I don't know how much sales are going to be generated through that type of revenue. For the most part, these are collectors and enthusiasts that come through for pieces like this, that ask for stuff like this, and we're so wonderfully, you know, thankful when they're able to offer us stuff like this. And yeah, you know, it's limited and that's tough. It's harder to get your hands on them. There's honestly, for me, my pick of the bunch, there's a limited Euro spec one that has a similar dial, except it's more of kind of a linen silvery color palette, which I think the more muted style is just something, because we see so many fun colors like this, I think the more muted monochromatic color palette is kind of fun by comparison. So with all that said, guys, I've been rambling, but you know what, and we just get to have more time on the channel, like, enjoying this beautiful dial. So enjoy that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.